Good morning, fam. Good morning. Happy Sunday to everybody. Happy Sunday. Hope all is well. Listen, I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to get on in here. I know it's Sunday. I know it's football Sunday. And you guys are probably getting ready for the game. But I want to take a few minutes of your time today to go over something important and major. And my reason for having this live today is because the past few months or so, I've had conversations with people who have called me and asked me if their parents ever took out the policy when they sat down with me. And again, I had to tell them they never moved forward. So I kind of want to go over this topic today to hopefully somebody will hear this and they will decide to take action. Right? So I hope you guys are having a wonderful and blessed Sunday so far. And I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. So today, what I'm going to talk about is something every family thinks won't happen to them. Right? Every family think this won't happen to them. But the truth is this. Almost 7 in 10 Americans will need long-term care at some point later in life. Almost 7 in 10 Americans will need long-term care at some point later in life. Americans are not the most healthy of people. Right? So yes, a lot of Americans are going to need some form of long-term care. And the irony is this, almost no one is prepared for it. Roughly less than 10% of Americans have some form of long-term care coverage. Less than 10%. I have a question for you guys. What happens when you can't bathe yourself? What happens when you can't dress yourself? What happens when you can't feed yourself? When a chronic illness takes over your body and your finance, what happens? Have you ever thought about that? What happens to you when you cannot bathe yourself? What happens to you when you cannot dress yourself? What happens to you when you cannot feed yourself? When a chronic illness takes over your body and your finances, what happens? Today, we're going deep. And we're going to talk about facts and we're going to talk about the truth. And we're talking about how you can protect your legacy before it's too late. Long term, how you doing? Long term care or a chronic illness or critical illness can financially cripple a family. I want you to type long-term care in the chat if you want to protect yourself and your family. Yeah, baby, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your support. Right? What is long-term care really? And here's what most people, too many people don't understand. Long-term care is not just nursing homes. It helps with daily living, like bathing, dressing, using the bathroom, feeding you for months or even years. If you're in the chat right now, have you ever experienced a family member, a neighbor, or a friend that had to get help and support from other people? Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, please. If you're watching it live, please invite people to get on. This is very, very important. Have you ever had to care for somebody? Have you ever been put in a position where you had to help somebody get dressed, where you had to help somebody eat, where you had to bathe somebody? Right? The time and effort that it takes you. And what a lot of people don't understand is Medicare, which most people think will cover everything, does not pay for long-term care like this. That's right. Medicare covers doctors and hospitals, but not long-term custodial care. So when you need help living, you are on your own. Wait, I have a question. What's your question? Millie Barley, I think. Join the military and get VA benefits. Simple. Hey, it's not as simple as you may want it to be. Right? And we're gonna go over that in a minute. We're gonna go over options. But not everybody can join the military. Right? Nearly 7 in 10 Americans will need care. Nearly 7 in 10 Americans will need some form of care. According to government and healthcare planning data, about 70% of Americans turning 65 will need long-term care in their remaining years. That means it's normal, not rare. Right? And here's the deal. Women are hit the hardest. 51% of women over 65 and 39% of men will need long-term care. Women live longer and are more likely to need these services, and for a longer period of time. Right? My mother, who's a nurse, I remember she out here in Chevy Chase, Maryland, she used to take care of this lady who, when I met the lady, she was almost close to 90, like 87 years old, 80 years. So that lady has been in that facility for over a decade. Right? So women, in most cases, where am I at? I'm in Maryland. Right? So women in most cases will need long-term care longer. than men because they just simply live longer than men. Right? 1 out of 5 65-year-old will need care longer than 5 years. Again, the woman who my mother was taking care of has been in that facility for at least 10 years. That's not weeks, that's years of dependency for daily help and cost. Right? Do you have a wife? Not at the current moment. No. No. But that's a good question because um one of my agents' mother, who I've known her for a while, she's a wife and she's caring for her husband. Um and she's telling me how exhausting it is. And this is something that you don't want to put your family through if you don't have to. You know? Even if I have a wife, for example, I'm 6 feet 225. My ex-wife was 5'5", no more than 140, 150. I don't know if she can be lifting me up every day and bathing me and carrying me and helping me get dressed. That's back-breaking work. Right? So these are things that I think family don't prepare for because they just simply believe that it won't happen to them. Okay? Here's something that should scare every adult in America because I just simply like the truth. Right? The national average cost for a nursing home room today is over $112,000 a year. An assisted living facility will run you roughly $112,000 a year. And in just 20 years, if inflation keeps going up, that cost could be nearly $186,000 a year. So I'll give you an example. If you live to 80, for example, and you need care for 5 years, that's $500,000 without counting assisted living or home care. Listen, I hate to bring you guys this message on a Sunday, but talking to people who are calling me just this year alone and asking me, hey, did my mom or dad ever took that plan out with you? And I have to tell them, no, they didn't. They didn't move forward. And now they're trying to figure out how they're going to get their parents this care. Right? A home health aide, that means people who come to your home to help with daily tasks, often cost $60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month. That is $5,000 a month. I want you guys to think about that for a second. Something as simple as getting coverage that will cover you in the event of something like this that will cost you next to nothing in a way, or waiting for it to happen and then have to pay massively out of pocket. Now listen to this, because this is what doesn't get talked about enough, right? Right? When mom, for example, right? When mom or dad needs care, someone has to do it. And that someone is usually going to be you or another family member. That's unpaid caregiving, sometimes without sleep. So, again, when I mentioned earlier with my client's mother and the amount of effort that she has to put in caring for her husband, and then still wake up in the morning and have to go to work and then rush back home to make sure, it was a lot. It's unpaid caregiving, sometimes without sleep, sometimes without pay, in most cases without pay, and often with nobody else to help. I remember when I got into this business, right? And my manager at the time, it was telling a story and how his mother has 6 children. 6 children. And how the sixth, he's the one that's doing everything. One person doing everything, and then still have to go out and work and make a living and take care of his household. Millions of Americans have become full-time caregiver because the system wasn't ready, or they didn't have a system in place. And the affordability itself, they didn't have it. So they have to do the work themselves. And this is why I'm doing this live, because it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. Most people don't sit down with advisors or people in the industry to guide them in reference to, hey, this is available to you. You want to prepare for the worst. Things like that. So that way, if it does happen, okay, you don't become a burden to your family. Right? Long-term care, can actually also financially ruin you. I don't know if you guys know that. When you get off of this live, I want you guys to find people in your circle who have gone through caring for another person and ask them what did it cost them financially, time. Some people have lost their jobs because by the time they get to work, something has happened to their spouse, they got to rush back home. In the middle of work, something happened to their spouse, they got to rush back home. They got to call out. This can be financially crippling. A long-term care event can strip a life savings fast. Some people think they are like self-insured or something, right? And what do I mean by that? One, they feel as though if it does happen, then I'll take care of the person without knowing the amount of work that it takes. 90% of adults say paying $100,000 a year in care will be impossible or difficult. It absolutely is. The average income in America right now is $68,000 a year. The average um the average retirement savings is $187,000. So where would they get $100,000 a year to take care of an individual? They can't. It's not realistic. It is not realistic. Right? I want you to picture this. I want you to picture this. A man, 72 years old, suffers a stroke. Doctors stabilize this individual, but he can't walk or care for himself. His wife becomes his caregiver. She quits her job. Their savings run down. Their retirement plan collapse. And suddenly they must choose between care and financial survival. I'm gonna let me paint that picture again for you guys. So you guys have a vivid picture in your mind. Because the gentleman earlier was saying, do I have a wife? And I'm assuming he's talking about, well, your wife's duty to do that. But it goes so far deeper than that. Okay? A 72-year-old male suffers a stroke. Okay? And the doctor stabilized him, but he can no longer walk or care for himself. And the wife is now the caregiver. And she has to quit her job because it's a 24-hour job now to care for this individual. Their savings run down. Their retirement plan collapsed. And now they must choose between care for the husband and financial survival. Or think about dementia, for example, a progressive illness that can last years, requiring full-time supervision. Family struggles, relationship strains, and finance start to disappear quickly. I'm gonna give another example. I have a client, an agent, I'm sorry, who is actually just retired from being an agent now. And he had to, because the wife was diagnosed with progressive dementia. It got to the point, it got so bad, they couldn't leave her alone for a second. And now they had to commit her to a assisted living facility, which, talking to him, is draining him fast. And this is an individual who had $250,000 saved up. Okay? So again, I wanted to bring this topic to you guys today specifically because on Friday, I got yet another call of a client that sent me their parents, and I sat down with them and they didn't move forward. And now something happens to their parent, and now they're wondering how they're going to take care of care. This is why planning for long-term care is not a selfish thing, it's survival. You want to make sure that you're not a dependent on your family. You want to make sure that you can get taken care of and you're not a burden. And here's the whole thing with this, because getting the coverage is so affordable. But again, I believe most people believe this will never happen to them. Right? And this is why, and if you guys have never heard of this, but life insurance with living benefits is a game changer. Most people that have life insurance, they have basic life insurance. But life insurance with living benefits, right, allow you the access to long-term care money if you need it. Okay? Let me explain what living benefits are. It's a life insurance policy with benefits, which means you can access part of your life insurance while you're still alive, such as needing chronic care or long-term assistance. And for the fact that it's tied to a life insurance policy, it makes it so much more cheaper. It's a real option in many modern policies that combines your life insurance death benefit protection with living need access. So, as you're watching this today, I want you to pull your policy out and see if your policy, as a matter of fact, I want you to message me, okay? Or let me leave my number here, which is 443 208 5480. That's 443 208 5480. Let's do a review of what you have. If your policy is older than 10 years old, it's older than 10 years, there's a high likelihood you don't have living benefits. Even if your policy is less than 10 years, not all companies cover this. So if you're going to have a life insurance policy, because the cost for long-term care itself, a standalone long-term care coverage, is extremely expensive, right? But if it's tied to a life insurance policy, it now makes it affordable for you. Standard health insurance and Medicare won't cover long-term care. I'm going to repeat that for you one more time. Standard health insurance and Medicare won't cover long-term care. But a policy with living benefits can help you pay for it. And because it's life insurance first, if you never use the living benefits, your beneficiaries still receive the death benefit. Whereas with standalone long-term care, if you never use it, you just have gained nothing out of it. Right? Let me share a story with you guys. Roughly 7, 8 years ago, maybe, I wrote a policy for a family over here in Maryland. Right? And I did a policy for the mom, the dad, and the kids. One of the middle child, ended up, having a baby. And that triggered her lupus. And it was so bad that the girl needed care. And the way the mother was able to provide that care, she triggered the living benefit side of the policy and was able to pull out about $100,000, which allowed mom to stay home and provide for the child. She still had a nurse aide that come in part-time so mom can get some sleep, mom can get some rest. But if I never put that plan in place, it may have been financially devastating for that family. Why does have what the reason why you want to make sure, because here's the deal, a lot more people are needing long-term care now because we just simply don't know what we're putting in our bodies anymore. That's part of it. A lot of the food that we are eating is just not good for our body. Also, most people don't work out like they should. Most people don't go to the doctor on time like they should. So they find out things too late sometimes. So you want to make sure in the event something was to happen, that you're able to take care of yourself. Life insurance with living benefits protect your asset so your savings don't evaporate. It also protects your family so they don't become an unpaid caregiver, a frustrated, overworked, unpaid caregiver. It also gives you peace of mind. You know a plan is in place if something was to happen. It's literally just making a game plan. It's what this is. Right? You're literally making a game plan. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Living longer is a blessing. Living longer is a blessing. But it increases the risk you need some form of help. Without a plan, your legacy, your retirement, your family's future could all be at risk. Everything, if you fall into a situation where long-term care is needed, everything that you work so hard for, to save, to invest, could evaporate overnight. Right? Listen, in the chat, if you want to protect your future with a plan that includes long-term care strategy, living benefits, and financial peace of mind, I want you to type protect in the chat. If you want to protect your future with a plan that includes long-term care strategy, living benefits, and financial peace of mind, type protect in the chat. And if you don't have a plan right now and you are interested in sitting down with me to go over a plan for you and your family, I want you to text protect to 443-208-5480. That's 443-208-5480. Right? And listen, I don't want this live to be a long one. So I'm about to wrap this up for you guys because I know it is football Sunday, right? So I'm going to go over some data with you guys just so that way you have something to think about. 70% of people turning 65, 70% of people turning 65 will need long-term care. 70%. That's a big number. Women 65 plus and men 65 plus will need some form of paid care. Average nursing home is running about $112,000 a year and rising. Right? A large majority of adults say long-term care costs could be impossible or difficult to pay, especially out of pocket. And about half of the people turning 65 will need significant care support. Listen, I don't want you guys to leave your family wide open. As we exit this live, I want you to contact people that you may know and ask them what did they go through caring for a family member because they didn't have some form of long-term care coverage. A lot of people were financially devastated. A lot of people were financially devastated. Right now in America, 48% of the people do not have life insurance, period. That's almost half of the country. But this data is telling us that 70% of people turning 65 will need some form of long-term care. So if 48% of the country don't have life insurance, another 68% know they don't have enough life insurance. A lot of people are going to be in trouble. A lot of people are going to be in trouble. Last year, AARP dropped an article that says 30% of the people between the age of 65 and 77, I'm sorry, between the age of 60 and 60 and hold on, I'm sorry, 30% of the people between the age of 50 and 66, I'm sorry, have zero retirement savings. So let me bring this in for you guys. AARP did a research and they found that 30% of the people between the age of 50 and 66 have zero retirement savings. Then you want to couple that with 48% of Americans don't have life insurance. This is a total devastation waiting to happen. This is total family financial crippling that's ready to happen. And it doesn't have to be. It takes no more than 30 minutes to sit down with an agent to find out what will work best for you and your family. To get a budget. right? To go over getting the plan started. It takes no more than 30 minutes. When you get a moment this week, I want some of you guys to go into an assisted living facility and ask them how much does it cost, and have them show you the room that most people are in, and see how much that room costs a month. And ask yourself, are you prepared for this? If something was to happen, if my children couldn't take care of me, if my spouse couldn't take care of me, if I don't have a spouse, if I'm on my own, how will I be able to do this if I need care? It is a legitimate question that I want you to ask yourself. Okay? Most people don't sit down to think about this. Listen, I'm glad you guys got on this live today. I hope this message reached the right person well today. I hope the person who needed to hear this and needed some answer heard this message today. Again, listen, if this is your first time running across my channel or my platform, please follow me or subscribe. If you got value from what you heard today, I want you to hit the like button because it helps the algorithm push this message out. And I also want you to share with somebody who you believe will benefit from this, right? I want you to share this with somebody who you believe will benefit from this message today. And also, if you are saying to yourself, man, I don't have life insurance, man, I don't have long-term care. If you're part of the 50% of the people who don't have life insurance right now in America, and you've been procrastinating long enough, and you want to get a plan put in place, text me at 443-208-5480. If you're part of the people that are 50 to 66 that have zero retirement savings, over 30+%, almost 40% of people in that age group have zero retirement savings, and you want to put a plan together. You want to start the procrastination and you want to take action right now. I want you to text me again at 443-208-5480. We're going into a new year. It's time for a change. If all of this year went by and you never got your finances in order, or you never started a plan to get your finances in order, you don't want to roll that into 2026. Right? You want to go into 2026 with action. All right? So listen, thank you guys for getting on this live. Again, I hope I was able to help somebody today. I look forward to talking to y'all soon. Have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day.